I was born with perfectly fine eyesight, but I was also born with a genetic disorder called, now it's called Stargardt's disease. When they diagnosed me in 1985, it was broadly called macular degeneration. So I had that perfect eyesight for all of a hot minute, and it started crapping out immediately. We noticed it by the time I was 8. They thought they'd give me glasses. I mean, the technology just wasn't there in 1985. They didn't know what the heck to do with it. People were like, well, you probably just need some glasses. So they gave me glasses, and that really wasn't doing the trick. And as time went on, it kept getting worse and worse, and technology caught up. They figured out I had a genetic chromosomal disease that caused my eyesight to deteriorate at a relatively steady rate. So I was still active in high school. I wanted to play football, but I couldn't see the ball, so I played offensive line. I was constantly losing. Every year was worse than the year before. I used to read large print books in junior high school, and then by the time high school rolled around, I couldn't see the large print books anymore, so it was all books on tape. So it's been a lifetime of rapid eyesight degeneration, I guess.
You figured out pretty early on that you had a voice for radio, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And as a result of that, you figured out you wanted to do movie trailers, and you wanted to be a voiceover actor. So why don't you tell us how you got into that?
Or how about give us a little sneak preview?
That's going to cost extra. I'm not sure if that's in the budget.
Based on the best-selling novel called Brilliant by the New York Times. Know a great night starts with great food. Get in. Get comfortable. Get ready. Tune in tonight to Monday Night Countdown for a special look at Tom Hanks in Bridge of Spies.
Pete Gustin.
The voice is golden.
I had like the worst like little girl voice when I was before puberty, and I used to call people. My uncle used to joke all the time with my cousins. I'd call and say, hey, is Mike there? And he'd hold the phone away enough that I could hear it and be like, it's either Peter or a girl calling. Like I had a wicked girl voice, and then just one day I just woke up one morning and basically sounded like this, and immediately everyone's like, you should do radio. You should be on the radio. So and I think it happened. I think that was junior high school. I started doing the morning announcements.
Sounds like a very scary 14-year-old to talk to. It sounded like you at 14. Yeah. I would be terrified.
My mom was a little freaked out. She tells the story that I literally came downstairs just one day, good night, Mom, and the next day I came down for breakfast. And I'm like, what's for breakfast? And she's like, there's a man in the house. Yeah. But right from then, I was like, I think I want to do something with my voice. I wasn't sure. Even when I got into college, I thought maybe I'd want to be a DJ. But eventually, the world of voiceovers started calling. And that, of course, ended up being a rather tricky profession for someone who was losing their eyesight to get into, because as a DJ or a host of a radio show or a TV show or something like this, you're not working off of a script. I literally picked the one aspect of using your voice for a living that needs to read something. I guess if I was a news anchor, like reading off the teleprompter too, but I was never able to read the scripts, and that was a huge hindrance to my career in the beginning. I had agents and people in the business just tell me I'd never be a voiceover guy because you don't read copy. You can't read the copy. They kind of put my career on hold for a number of years until eventually the technology caught up, and the way people talk to their phones, or you talk to Alexa, or you talk to Google, I have all my scripts read to me by one of those computer voices. So I stick it in my left ear, and it reads the script to me out loud, and then I spit it back out. But it did take a while for that. There was a gap between when I wanted to get into voiceovers and when that technology became available, where I was really kind of lost and adrift, thinking I wanted to do voiceovers, but I can't. But I kind of jumped on that technology and jury-rigged my own little ear prompter system, I call it, and it kind of took off after that.
You've also learned to surf, which most people don't think a blind person could do, right? Why don't you tell us why you wanted to start surfing, how you got to a point where you felt comfortable going out in the water, what it was like starting to surf. Just give us a little insight into how that
Still not sure if I feel comfortable going out in the water. I need a little bit of.
Like last weekend, was a little brutal for you.
I've always been active. Like I said, in high school, I played football. I was a swim team, and I like being an active person. But as my eyesight was crapping out, and I was getting in my 30s, and a lot of my friends were playing in over 30 pickup basketball leagues, and this is when I was living in the Boston area. And then some of them would play tennis. A lot of them would golf on the weekends, and this is like all stuff that I couldn't do anymore. And I was just kind of living in Boston, doing weightlifting in my basement and trying to stay active that way. But it was getting a little boring, honestly, just kind of living in my house and spending my active time in the basement. When we moved from Boston to San Diego, basically everybody surfed, like everybody. If you want to make friends in the Boston area, you just walk up to them at a bar and you go, sports, or Red Sox, Patriots, and then you guys are talking all night. Out here, I was like, walk into a bar or restaurant, I'm like, sports. And I remember the hairdresser guy, the hairdresser. I don't have a hairdresser. I have a barber. He's a barber. The barber, Maggie took me to a guy, and like I brought up sports, and his response was like,
I'm not into organized.
yeah, I don't like organized sports. I was like, all right, well, what do you do? And he was a surfer, and barber surfer, but everybody surfed, and I started thinking, it just kind of got in my head. I was like, maybe I'd never seen a surfing video. I've never seen anybody surf. I didn't really know anything about it. I mean, I guess I watched Baywatch back in the day. And
Did you see Kelly Slater on there?
Was he? Oh, he did Baywatch?
I think his character was like Slades or something. Was his name? He met his love of his life, Pamela Anderson.
Oh, well, I was watching Pamela Anderson and Carmen Electra. You were checking out Kelly Slater, I guess. But
I was also like 5 years old, so I mean, maybe I was looking at Spice Girls right now.
All right.
Okay. Nickelodeon magazine. Come on.
But I really didn't know anything about the sport other than what I saw like in the background of a couple of those Baywatch episodes. But I figured, to me, in my brain of not knowing what surfing was, I was like, I paddle out and then I could possibly see a wave. Like I can see the light of the sky and the dark of the ocean. And when the dark comes up, that's a wave. And I just figured when the dark gets higher, I'll do that paddle thing and stand up. Like that's surfing, right? And we basically did it. Maggie took me to the beach every weekend, probably twice a weekend for about 9 months. And I sat there in the whitewash in a terrible spot where the waves are crashing constantly, and I just get pounded on and kind of shoot out of it and try and stand up. And I'm like, that's surfing. I'm surfing, right? I'm surfing.
You always tell the story as if I didn't try to surf with you. Like I just drove you to the beach, but for that first summer, I was going paddling out with you. But
You
I
lasted
never had
about a month, and then you broke your toe.
whatever, that won't count.
So the water got cold or something.
But she was such a good sport to take me down there all the time, and we could have learned together if you didn't break your toe, probably.
So how was your vision at this point when you kind of started? You could just see kind of like hills and stuff like that and shadows, or what?
It was a little better, but there wasn't. I couldn't see. We picked out a spot where no one was because I couldn't see anybody around me, and I knew enough to know that I was going to be in everybody's way.
Army Navy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you picked
The land of closeouts.
Yeah.
I love that spot.
I mean, to me, a successful day was when I didn't break my glasses, lose my cell phone, snap a leash, break a board.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like, I felt like that was successful.
Did you have a shirt? Because I know you said he has a shirt, right? That says
the blind surfer.
Yeah,
shirt.
I'm blind. Don't worry about it, or what?
I did. That'd be a good one.
Get over it. Yeah.
No, I didn't.
It's an interesting topic.
I didn't wear the shirt in the beginning. I just stayed away from everybody. And then when a friend kind of introduced me to another spot that we surf a lot now called Hemlock, where there were people.
Yeah.
Hemlock.
I started.
Hemlock crew.
Yeah. I started with a hat. I had a little. I think it was the hat. I had a hat and an armband, maybe. I had an armband said blind. No one's going to read that. I had the hat. I thought maybe they'd look at my head. That said blind surfer. No one read that. So I finally got the shirt. It says blind surfer across the chest, and no one reads that.
No, do they yell at you, or what do they do?
They yell at him now, thankfully.
You've been coaching surfing for how long?
I don't know, like 10 years or so.
10 years, yeah. So, like, you know how to handle basically any situation.
Yeah. I mean, just evaluate the lineup, a bunch of other people on foam board. Like, I'm going to send them on pretty much anything.
Right, yeah. It doesn't matter.
a bunch of people ripping little shortboards, I'll be like, let's pedal over here.
I think what's interesting, what interests me when I first met you guys was how you've been teaching surf lessons for like 10 years or whatever, but you have never taught a blind person before. Pete.
Yeah, it was the first.
Yeah, obviously. So
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
why don't you tell us like how that connection happened, and then how teaching Pete is different than teaching a normal sighted person how to surf?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I used to work at Surf Ed for a long time, and then taught lessons through there for a long time. And I don't know, you came in looking for a board, right?
Yep.
And then my buddy Ben helped him out, and you asked him for lessons, and he was like,
You
I
wanted to do
can't.
Tuesday at like 11 in the morning. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm working Tuesday at 11 in the morning.
Yeah. So he passed your number off to me, and I was like, cool. And then he was like, he's blind too. I'm like, cool.
Like, oh,
Gotta keep that line
forgot to
classic.
mention that part. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, no, but then, I mean, I treated it just like any other lesson. I didn't even really, when I was teaching him at the time, I didn't really, or for some reason I forget that you had been surfing a little bit before I was helping you out. But just, yeah, starting in the whitewash. I think for most part, it's like, teaching the same until a point, because like push up, pop up, I'm pulling you into the wave. And then it's all like coaching more so than just a surf lesson or something. And I'm just his eyes essentially out in the water. So calling lefts and rights, or even before that, calling him to get into the position to paddle into the wave, which is like really confusing to do for somebody like 5 feet away from you. It's pretty funny at how like, I'm just trying to be in his spot and catch the wave, but telling him to do it. So
You have to take in a lot, though. You have to take in.
My brain
a
works pretty
lot.
fast.
It does.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you got to watch what you're doing. You can't forget about yourself. But then you're watching everything I'm doing, and I also I ask for a lot of feedback because I don't know what's happening to me on a wave from a visual standpoint. Like I know what I felt, but I'm trying to improve. So I have Josh. He's trying not to get rolled over by the wave as he's getting me into it, and then trying to keep an eye on it because I want to get feedback instantaneously. What did I do wrong? How can I do it better?
Yeah.
And then you're watching the crowds and the people, and then you're making sure that we're still in front of the cameras, and then the sharks, we try and stay away from them. If you see
that
them,
is a lot to take in.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it.
It's an awful lot, but
Yeah.
and I almost take it for granted that your eyes are on me constantly. Like I come back and you got it. You got all the information. You got me into the wave. You kept me away from the crowd. And
You're a very receptive person too, though. No, just because I can do all those things, it takes somebody to listen to them and then also try to further progress from those words.
Yeah, getting better for me at surfing is really it's so I only take in the tactile input of what I just experienced, and
Right.
then getting him to explain to me what just happened, and Brooks does it too. When I surf with both these guys, it's a very interesting and unique experience to physically experience something and then have someone tell you what just happened. It's weird, but it's super helpful for me to try and progress and get better by putting those two experiences together.
So like with your balance and stuff like that, like what it's hard for somebody who can see to imagine because I don't know. If I was to close my eyes and try it, I think I'd just fall over. Like how?
Yeah, I've tried it blindfolded.
Have you tried it? Is it crazy? You just fall over?
So crazy.
Yeah. So can't let's take something like riding a bike. Is that still something you feel like you could do because you can feel where your body's at? Like because I know your senses kind of step up to cover that, right? Or like how does that work?
Well, I feel like a lifetime of things happening to me at the last second, whether I'm walking down the street and there's something in the sidewalk that I tripped on that I didn't see. I mean, that happens to me more than it would to anybody else. And so I need to adjust very quickly so I'm not falling down. Or again, walking down the street and like there's a branch that, or something that's going to bop me in the head.
Yeah.
I've my entire life, I mean, those sound like little silly things, but I've had a lifetime of little silly things that have been trying to knock me off balance.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've developed a lot of last minute, really quick reaction times.
Yeah.
I guess even my pop up is pretty twitchy, fast.
And I mean, like, same on the point too. You work out a lot, and you'll
helps,
use
yeah.
the endo board too. You do way more working out than
He skateboards.
Yeah, so if
Ride
you
the
skate,
bike.
then you have a sense of like something flowing underneath you and leaning back
Yeah.
and doing all that
and
stuff.
we got a handboard for the
I
surf
think
skate.
he progressed really well from going straight on the face wave to like trying to stay in the pocket and
Yeah.
like ride the wave.
Let's take it to kind of the present. We talked about your voiceover career. We talked about how you learned to surf. Tell us about some of the things you've been doing in your voiceover career recently. Like some of the movie trailers and shows you've been doing first. Like what's some recent things you've done?
It's been a good 2 or 3 months, I guess. I'm of course the voice of Fox News, so that keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, I just told Maggie today I booked my first time. I'm going to be appearing doing a promo for the MLB Network.
Nice.
For your first
Congrats.
time.
Yeah, I've never been on. I've auditioned for MLB a number of times. This is the first time that I got booked to do it. I also just booked a pretty massive national ad campaign for a B2B phone provider called Vonage. They just
Vonage, yeah.
They just relaunched they're rebranding themselves, and they made me the brand voice of the new campaign.
Yeah.
You
That's
should
great.
also mention the Padres thing because it's local.
Oh yeah, and I'm the
I
voice
hear
of the
them on radio all
Padres.
the time.
Yeah.
That's soccer, right? No, what is it? California,
That's
we
the
don't know
loyal-
what sports are. Like.
I know I'm not into organized sports.
That's right.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
know.
I do. You can hear me on the radio, on the TV, and in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Which
And
is that was fun. We went to the ballpark, Maggie and I and a couple other people, and they were doing the laser show, and the game was over, and they killed the lights, and like the little laser started going around the top, and it's like, ladies and gentlemen, please get ready for the Padres laser show. I'm like, that's me, that's my voice, that's me.
Awesome.
And then like I was like, and
what?
count down with me from 10 to 1 before the show to start, and like this whole stadium is like 10, 9. I'm like,
That's so cool.
I did start. I couldn't not. I started counting along with myself. I'm like, this is really weird.
Did you think you sound different, like, in those kind of situations that you think in your head? Or, like, you know, because did they change anything, or is it just straight up your voice?
I mean, I've heard myself enough.
Yeah.
Now. I knew
I
what
do
to
it.
expect.
I'll be
Yeah.
in my car sometimes. I don't even know what I'm listening to, and I'll be like, "What was that?
Yeah.
That sounded like.
Was
Why
that
do I
him?
know? Oh wait."
Yeah.
Yeah. So your career is blossoming, flourishing. Already has been blossoming and flourishing, obviously. But you also do a YouTube show / vlog called Blind Surfer. Comes out every week. You produce, shoot a lot of it, edit it. I'm in it. He's in it. She's in it. So why don't
You
you
gotta get in it, man.
Dude,
now you will be.
apparently I
Actually,
will
you will be. Now,
There you go.
So just tell us the inspiration behind that, how it started, and kind of what's your process weekly behind that.
There's been a lot of stories on me. I was joking before we did this. I've done a lot of interviews, and it's usually about a blind guy learning to read copy and becoming a voice actor, which is a great story. I told it a lot, though, and when I came out here and started surfing, it was some high school girl literally just saw me on the beach wearing my Blind Surfer shirt, and she wanted to do a little story for me for her high school journalism class. And that came out. I think I put it on Facebook, and the people from Fox 5 San Diego saw it, and they thought it would make a neat news story. So Kaylin McMacken from Fox 5 San Diego came out, and she did a 2.5 minute piece on the evening news.
Really good waves that day.
Oh, we got
Some of
so
my-
lucky.
I've seen
Some
that
of
clip.
Pete's
Yeah,
best
that
waves.
left you got was really nice.
I'd never actually been left. Sometimes the stars just align.
You don't know.
Yeah, but that day, I feel like a lot of things just like work out. Like the
They
day we
really
we did an axe throwing and knife throwing competition that day, and I won.
Wow.
But then after the show was over, I couldn't hit the damn target with
blind
the
luck,
broadside of the barn. Yeah. But that day, yeah, we got into. Josh came out, and Kaylin was out there swimming around. I was petrified I was going to run her over, but he kept me out of the way of her. You did have me drop in on some guy doing stink bug stance.
Yeah.
But you.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Made that guy
We got Fox 5 out here. Like,
Right,
no.
Get out of my way. But that piece aired, and then I think a month or so later is when I decided stupidly to compete in a Carlsbad Board Riders Club competition, and in the next heat to me was Taylor Knox. So I was very outclassed. I mean, I was like, I know how to stand up on a wave, and I've got Taylor Knox competing. But he literally just walked by Maggie and I, and he's like, you're said something to the effect of like, you make me want to be a better person or something, like, because he saw the piece. Cool. And I was like, man, if Taylor Knox can see my stupid surfing and be inspired by it, and I started thinking if I can combine all those interviews and stories I've done about being a blind voice actor with being someone who's trying to take on a new sport, I felt like I could combine those two, and if it meant something to one person, maybe it would mean something to 2, 3, or 4. I asked this dude who's down for anything. One day we went to the beach, and I was like, want to do a YouTube show? And he's like, yeah. Sure, no problem. And you're like, my sister has an Instagram. Yeah. And you totally agreed. And then a couple weeks later, we're standing on the beach with the Maggie's got a camera. Josh is getting ready to take me out there, and I'm doing what I constantly do, which is talk.
How many episodes are you at now? Do you know?
I think we're in the high 80s, 86,
Wow.
7, 8, 9, something like that. Yeah.
And I think what people don't realize when they watch it is that you edit, you produce, you do everything except film yourself surfing, and sometimes you do that with a GoPro.
Yeah.
But you edit the show and put it together, which most people don't think a blind person would be able to do. Can you tell us kind of how that works?
I mean, I just take all the footage. I mean, we got Maggie's on a camera, you're on the drone, Josh got a camera, and I've got one that I literally practice with pointing the thing directly at my face. And it's actually been one of the trickier parts of the show was we've gone through a number of different GoPro configurations, and I would point off to the side, or I'd cut my head off, and we finally shoot now in a 4:3 mode, so it's a little taller, a little wider, got a max lens on it, just getting me in the shot. So once that camera's been taken care of, everybody else does a good job of framing everything. I'm there, I experienced what happened at every moment, and I kind of just line up the story, what's being said, and I assume that all the pictures are correct, but a lot of times I'll have to check or double check. I'm screenshotting things and sending it to you while you're at work, or you, and I'm like, what is this? Who's this? What am I looking at? What's going on in this shot? And then even sometimes, this is a bone of contention between poor Banana and I, the thing's done, and she's like, yeah, screwed that up. And video editing is not fun to have to fix, but there have been errors, and I've had to fix them, usually before they go to
specifically
YouTube.
whether or not somebody is who he thinks they are. So you can get your face as close to the screen as you want, but at the end of the day, it's just seeing like a surfer.
Yeah.
But you can tell. I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, but can you tell by form whether or not it's like Brooks or Josh or?
Yes, I feel like I have that nailed, but I can get fooled. Yeah. There's been 2 episodes, maybe out of the last 5, I've been in a bad streak where literally I'm trying to put you on a wave, and then you're like, yeah, that wasn't me.
That's pretty much the biggest.
Chick in a bikini. You're like, whoops. What kind of board do you ride?
Right now I'm on the Rob Machado Sunday, which I met him and he gave me
6'10"?
that one. It's 7 foot.
Okay,
but it's the
twin fin.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's not the Firewire.
Little flatter rocker.
Yeah, it's before that. It was a big change for me. I was riding a 5'9" Ultra Joe from Channel Islands.
Yeah,
and Rob was like, "You need more board. You need more volume."
Everyone said that.
Yeah, I mean everyone said.
It just took Rob Machado.
Well, but his board was. Everyone was right. I needed more board and I needed more volume. But what Rob's board offered was still gave me the feel, because I was too disconnected on a big fat board.
Very thin rails.
It's very thin, and I can still feel what's going on beneath me under that board.
Yeah,
I love that.
And you went from everyone advising you to go for a long board and trying that a couple times, or a longer board, and just nosediving very often.
Yeah.
And so you went flip opposite, super short, you had a baked potato.
Yeah. I was riding a 5'5" baked potato.
A 6-foot pod mod.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to make those later drops, but something in between for the paddle power.
That's the thing with the wave storm and stuff like that is you paddle and then you got to just get way back.
Yeah, exactly.
Drop and then turn. And if you don't know when that's coming, good luck, because it's just going to go. Every time.
The Channel Islands was, I bought the ultralight, it was all, I put Spine Tech in it. It was a very, very light board, the 5'9" I was riding. And that really did allow me, on late drops, I mean, you don't even have to get that far back on a board that little and that light.
Right,
you just get back a bit. And I was pulling out all sorts of late drops. But I was noticing 2 things. One is all I was doing was late dropping and then riding straight. And then on the show, too, it was just you were doing stuff. You were doing turns and carving, and I'd just go straight every time. And I'm like, something needs to change. And that's why I shot out of I was sitting there one day and I was like, "Dear Rob Machado, I think I need a different surfboard. Any advice?" And 24 hours later, he's like, "Yeah, what are you riding now?" I was like, "What?" He's writing back to me. And he invited me and Josh over to his house, and we just sat there and talked about, and he'd seen some of my surfing, I guess. I mean, he seemed pretty well versed with what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that's when he recommended the new board, and it really, like the next day, all of a sudden my surfing was like, hey, you're halfway not horrible. They turned off the air conditioning on us. That's the get the F out, I want to go home.
Yeah, they're trying to sweat us out now. They're trying to sweat us out. Pete Gustin, Blind Surfer, YouTube channel Blind Surfer. Check it out. His coach, Josh Servi. I also make appearances on there, as well as Maggie. And yeah, thank you guys for coming.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
It's cool stuff.